Yeah.
We are doing well. Despite the heavy rains we are
Yeah.
receiving since on the 22nd of December until to date, it's raining. It's
Yeah.
only that today we didn't get so much.
Yeah.
There were some drizzles, but otherwise this evening we might have heavy rains again
Yeah.
because they're just maybe saying that maybe by tomorrow Wednesday it might stop, but we are not so sure.
Last time we were in Harare, it was dry, and people were
Yes,
really,
yes,
praying for any sign of rains. It was dry.
exactly,
The sky was clear. I was really,
exactly.
yeah. So is it only your part of the region that's getting rain, or all parts of Zimbabwe?
And now the whole country, although in some certain areas it is not as much as it is in our region. In some parts they have normal rains, but here it is really,
Yeah.
yeah, to the extent of some of our community members, their homes have been destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you living now? Are you living in Harare or?
No, I'm in Masvingo
Okay.
province, which is the central part of Zimbabwe,
Mm-hmm.
and we are in the southern part.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes.
How often do you go to Harare?
For now, not really. Maybe
Yeah.
once after some months because I'm busy at home
Yeah.
on the farm, and
Yeah.
maybe I just go to Harare when there are issues related to conferences, workshops,
Yeah.
meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, awesome. I'm really happy to have you. As you know, the Voice of AFSA newsletter, we started it to really spotlight our, heroes, our leaders, our spokespersons in AFSA
Okay.
who has played a great role in founding AFSA, not only founding AFSA, but even members, all the work that they are doing nationally. It's not really visible to the outside world. Even among Africans, there
Uh-huh.
are many people who are asking us who's AFSA, who are the members, what are the leaders, even the media. So we started this platform to just give them a brief about our leaders, the organization that they lead, and the type of work that they are doing nationally, which is really making an impact
Yeah.
in terms of really pushing agroecology and food sovereignty thoughts around Africa and globally. So I'm particularly honored to have you. You are the most renowned, the fearless, the ferocious leader globally when it comes to promoting the voice of smallholder farmers in Africa, in the world. Not only peasants' rights, but also indigenous people's rights, women's rights, landless workers' rights. The issues that you're talking
Yes.
have been diverse and more inclusive in Africa, and you've globally renowned and respected leader. As AFSA, you are one of our elders, the elders that we really take with high regard, with huge reverence and respect. So I'm so happy about the whole conversation we are going to have. My idea is we'll talk about your stories, your life, starting from your childhood, upbringing. What does it take to the making of Elizabeth Mpofu from her early days to where she is now. We'll talk a little bit about your work, what you're doing now, the organization you are leading, and your past experiences, like the general coordinator of the largest peasant smallholder farmers movement in the world, La Via Campesina, your role in UN, and maybe you talk about agroecology, food sovereignty, trying to capture your message for the youth, for Africa, for our leaders. So I'm so happy. Thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome, Kirubeli.
Okay. Okay, so let's start. Who's Elizabeth Mpofu? Can you tell us more about your childhood days? We really wanted to know, the early days before you even started this activism work.
Thank you so much. Elizabeth Mpofu was born in 1959 on the 30th of December. And I was born in South Africa in Barkwanath Hospital because my father was working in South Africa and he got married to my mother, who is a South African. So when I was 5 years old, my mother decided to come to what was then Rhodesia.
Rhodesia.
Before
Yeah.
it was Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So when we came here, we also lived in a remote area in Manicaland province, where we had our family farming. Although I know very well that I was too young and my mother, as a South African, was not able to work on the farms. So it was just the beginning where we were also supposed to assist my mother to be on the farm because my father, we had also left him behind in South Africa where he was working. Yeah, it was a very big challenge where you have some relatives and you are not able to communicate with them. They also have their own homes, but you also want to have your own piece of land. It was difficult for my mother to get this piece of land, but through thick and thin, with the assistance of some of my father's relatives, we managed to get our piece of land. So I just went to school when I was 6 years old. This is when I started my education at a primary school called Marume School in Buhera in Manicaland province. The challenge I faced during that time was that I was not able to speak our mother language, the Shona. But basically, I was trying to communicate with others using English because in South Africa, we were speaking some other languages like Zulu, like Toza, and a little bit of Afrikaans, Sesotho. So all these languages, no one was even aware of in Buhera, in our province. So it took me some time to get to know the Shona language, which is mostly spoken here in Zimbabwe. This is our mother language. Yeah. I went to grade 1 up to grade 5 in Manicaland, then grade 6 and 7. My aunt, the sister to my father, went with me to her area. This was in the eastern part of Zimbabwe, where I also went for grade 6 and 7. Then for my secondary education, which I did not complete because of some challenges at home, where you find out sometimes it was very difficult for my parents to have enough funds to proceed with my higher level of education. Yeah. The cultural way where they were believing that girls should not be really educated to a higher level, but they were considering the boys to be the most important people in the families. So as a girl, much of my time I did spend working with my mother on the farm, assisting her on the farm, although it was not all that agroecologically, but we were also trying to work on the farm using sustainable agriculture, using the manure, all those things. So in a short, this is how this is how I grew up. And in the family, we were 8 of us, 5 girls, 3 boys.
Oh, the
And
girls.
among us these, Yes, the girls are many, so I
Yeah.
was also the eldest from the family. I was the
Oh,
eldest girl, and the two brothers who were also than me.
yeah.
The two of them went to secondary education, to higher level education. One was a teacher. One also went to war to fight, the history of
Yeah.
Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
where we had this
Freedom fight.
war
Yeah.
trying to take what belonged to us. So one of my brother was also a war veteran who fought for the country, and the second one was the teacher. And myself, I was just at home with my mom, and my sisters also had the opportunity to go to school, and they reached their secondary level, and one was a teacher, and two of them also got married before myself. But otherwise, I was happy to be with my mother at home
Yeah.
because I got much interested in farming
Yeah.
because my mother taught me so much, especially in the issue related to farming. And we had good time explaining the importance of one to have his or her own food, not necessarily depending on buying from other people, yet we have a piece of land. So this is where I really learned much and I got much interested,
Yeah.
especially in farming.
Yeah.
I got married in 1982 and I
Mm.
have three children, two boys, one girl. And right now I have grandchildren, almost 11 of them, although they are staying with their parents, but here and there I am also assisting them,
Yeah.
especially in their education, because as a grandmother,
Yeah.
you cannot let your kids suffer. You also want them to have a bright future.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. Do they
Yes,
come and visit you? Do they live with you around your area, or they live in Harare?
they are around the area, but a little bit far from Shashe, where I am, almost about 30 kilometers away. But also, they usually come during the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where I am with my grandchildren, and
Yeah.
I am also working with them on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah. The most
Yes,
impressing thing for me is, okay, I can see how the intergenerational learning, that came down to you through your mother. The fact that you're close to her, it would allow you to, to suck and exploit all the knowledge, wisdoms from her that you effectively passed upon us, for the next generation, for your children or your grandchildren. So I'm happy that you're here to connect us with our ancestors in a way. So did your father came back from South Africa or after retirement?
yes. After retirement, my father came back to Zimbabwe, and he was still working in Harare for a shorter period. But then also he got his retirement, and he stayed for a shorter period at the home. He got ill and he passed on. So we
Mm,
remained with our mother only.
yeah.
Yes.
So is your mother still alive?
My mother is still alive. She is now 93 years old, and I'm staying with her right now here in Shashe because she's not feeling well. So I also have this opportunity to be with her, to take care of her.
Yeah. It's a huge,
Yeah,
huge blessing. Prayers to her health and long life. To be honest, they are our guardian angels in a way. The longer we stay with them, the more we get more connected. We get more profoundly affected by their love, their presence. So you're lucky to still have her
exactly.
and be around her and be her anchor in her life.
Thank
So
you.
how do you start this path of being smallholder organic agriculture, or call it agroecology farmer, or from being a farmer yourself, how do you start advocating for other farmers, for smallholder farmers, peasants?
Yeah, this was in the 1990s when my husband was still at work. You know, he was a police officer. So we were staying in camps, and we were staying here in Masvingo in a camp called Zimuto camp. So in this camp, we had a club, which was called Kuyedza Women's Club. You know, it's a club of women who are the wives to the police officers. So we formed this club where could share our ideas and do necessary projects to sustain ourselves as women, not just wait and depend on the husbands. So we were approached by 3 people who just identified the women's club, the Kweza Women's Club, and they have this organization called Association of Zimbabwe Traditional Environmental Conservationists, which its main objective was to revive the cultural norms and values, the traditional norms of producing food, all those issues, and also talking much about respecting the environment, taking care of Mother Earth. So when they visited us as women, this is when I was being selected to represent the women's club in this organization. I was approached by Nelson Mdzingwa, by another person called Mr. Shamu, and Cosmas Gonese, who was the director and founding member of ASTREC. So attending their meetings, their workshops, this is when I was also elected to become the chairperson of this organization, because it consisted of spirit mediums, chiefs, war veterans, and us other people who were just ordinary people.
Common people, yeah.
And yes, so this organization really taught me so much about taking care of the environment, how our ancestors were really managing the soils, were really managing all those resources surrounding them without any challenges, how they were producing their food without using any herbicides, any chemicals, any fertilizers. So I was really happy to be part and parcel of this organization, the Association of Zimbabwe Traditional Environmental Conservationists. And it happened in 2000 when there was the world 2002 when there was the World Summit on Sustainable Development. Yes, the summit which took place in Johannesburg, where this organization with other organizations who were under Pelham Association also selected a few farmers to go and attend this summit. So from ASTREC, I was also one of the farmers who was selected to go and attend this summit. This is where I learned more about activism, because we met with other farmers from different countries who were also activists. And despite not knowing, not understanding much about the activism, I started realizing, okay, what we are doing now, we are activists. We are really people who really are trying to fight for their right, to fight for social justice, for the environment, all those things, access to land, all those things. So I was very much attached and interested to be one of the people who attended this summit, because I learned quite a lot meeting with the other farmers. And that was when I was also selected to be a member of Eastern and Southern Africa Smallholder Farmers Forum, because this is where it started.
Yeah.
We formed ESAFF.
ESAFF, yeah.
By that time, yes. So since then, leading Zimbabwe Smallholder Organic Farmers Forum, because when we came back, we also formed ESAFF Zimbabwe by that time, because we were farmers who were working with members who were networking with Pelham Association. So we had this Pelham Zimbabwe with the different organizations. So Astrec was one of the organizations. So these Pelham organizations had farmers here in Zimbabwe. We came back and formed ESAFF Zimbabwe, you see. By that time, we had not called ourselves ZIMSOFF. We were not yet registered. In 2007, we got registered. And all this work was through focusing more on activism. It was just a matter of activism, because what we were fighting for, the voice of the voiceless, the voice of the women, access to land, all those things, you know, the governments were not really addressing all those issues. So we were just trying to find out the gaps and trying to see how best we can advocate as farmers, you see. So, yeah, this is how I started, and to the extent of leading, becoming the chairperson of ZIMSOFF, registering it in 2007, and until 2001, 2010, when I became, that's when I also, 2008, that's when I became the chairperson of Eastern Southern Africa Smallholder Farmers Forum until 2011. And from there, 2011, leading, from then, being a leader of a regional organization, ESAFF, till 2011. And also 2011, that's the time I also stopped to be the chairperson of Zimbabwe Smallholder Organic Farmers Forum, because we were now a member to this global peasant movement, like Via Campesina, which we joined as an organization through our region, Eastern and Southern Africa, Via Campesina. So after 2 years, we were now accepted, because there is a process for an organization to become a member to this global peasant movement. There are also procedures which really are needed. So we had the opportunity to have members of Via Campesina visiting our area here in Zimbabwe. They were coming from Europe, from Asia, and Latin America. So we had some delegates who came to visit us before we were members of Via Campesina. And what really happened was that they were happy when we were talking about the issue related to the land reform program, because we were also much involved in taking back the land. This is where we started our journey with Via Campesina. And in 2013, that's when I became the general coordinator of Via Campesina, representing Africa. And most importantly, this movement is the global peasant movement, which is also fighting for food sovereignty, and also for agroecology, and for the rights of peasants. You know, rights of peasants. Take into consideration issues related to land, seeds, food, all those things. So I became the coordinator from 2013, taking over from Indonesia, where it was really being hosted in Indonesia. And 2013, to 2021, this is where I seized my terms
With
came to an
yeah,
end.
yeah,
Yes, with Via Campesina came to an end. But before that, I was also much involved in some advocacy work with the United Nations, especially Food and Agriculture Organization, where we were also representing the peasants in all the meetings which were happening, to the extent of going to Geneva, to all those countries, representing the peasants,
yeah,
because there was quite a lot of work which was needed to be done, especially the issues related to advocate for agroecology, for food sovereignty, because this is something which was not even being recognized at the UN level.
yeah,
So Via Campesina played a very big role until we had this declaration, the United Nations Declaration for Peasants' Rights and People Working in the Rural Areas. I was part and parcel of really bringing up this declaration to the extent where it was adopted in
yeah,
New York.
yeah. It wasn't
So I'm really happy about the activism which I've been particularly,
part
and
of.
I'm still I'm still a very activist in my area, because this
Yeah,
is my
this is who you are
passion.
now. Yeah,
This is who I
that's
am.
been, yeah, that's been who you are for a long time. It's really very
Yes,
exciting to learn. Like, it's a new thing for me. Even, you know, the World Social Forum that has happened in Johannesburg has been a reason for the
yes,
emergence of many civil society organizations in Africa. It's really
exactly,
amazing.
exactly.
Even there are some organizations that came out of that meeting and established in Ethiopia. I remember Chameleon was telling us he was the one who was leading Ethiopian civil society group to Johannesburg for World Social Movement,
Mhm.
and they came and, you know, be part of the African Biodiversity Network, and all this networking and civil society emergence has increased since that time. So one thing that
Yes.
I want to be clear is, so after the World Social, you know, forum in Johannesburg, ZIMSOFF was already established to be part of that thing, or after you came from the World Social Forum, you established ZIMSOFF.
It was after we came back from the World Social
Okay.
Forum.
Yeah.
Yes, because we were also now uh, informed that we really want you farmers to come up with your own voice, your own organization, and you have to present yourselves, not to rely
Mm.
on the organization who whom we are working with, because sometimes we'd find out we had no opportunity to go to any other countries or attend any workshops, but the secretariat of our organizations were the people who were talking on our behalf.
Hmm.
But yet we are the people who are on the ground, who are facing all those challenges, who really want things to happen to our favor. So it was a blessing in disguise, because this is when we come back and inspect all the countries who were there in the during the summit. When they returned back, they formed their own organizations.
Yeah. It's really amazing to learn that you've been instrumental in really, you know, establishing these organizations, including PELEM, okay, you know, Zimbabwe, then ESAFF, then AFSA. You've been a founding mother of all this huge, very impactful,
Yeah,
larger civil
it is
society
very
movement.
interesting, Guru Baby.
Huh?
It is very interesting, because it is very interesting when I start reflecting who I was before and how I came to be where I am.
Yeah,
It's a history. It's something which one has to tell. Even my grandchildren should be aware of this. And right now, as we speak, when I was also nominated to be the special ambassador of the United Nations for the United Nations special ambassador for the year of pulses, in 2016, representing Africa. Yeah, so this is where I thought, okay, what next? What should I do? How should I move forward? Although I know I'm being the general coordinator of Via Campesina, but this will come to an end after 8 years. I'll also end my term of office. Then what? And what do I really need to achieve being the ambassador for the International Pulses? I'm a woman. Huh? I'm a woman, and we know pulses. These are women's seeds. What should we do? Now, I also shared my dream with other people, and I'm the co-founder of the African Women Collaborative for Healthy Food Systems, which I'm leading right now as we speak.
Yeah. It's one of the things. How is the work of Via Campesina in Africa? How did the governments take it? Did you get a chance to speak with many African governments about this global peasant movements, and how were their reactions, and how did you cope up your leadership in Africa? Because activism, as you know, in Africa, especially when it's right-based, when it is really rooted on the rights of peasants to the land, or indigenous peoples to their environment, biodiversity, it's always contentious issue. So I would like to tap into your wisdom, how you navigate through those times.
Yeah, especially I will talk much in Zimbabwe, because here we were very fortunate enough, because the government, looking at the issue related to land, access to land, you know how we really fought for the land, you see. So it was a very big advantage for us. We had no challenges about talking to our government during the dialogues, because we still organize some dialogues with our parliamentarians and table our issues. So you find out most of them were really supportive of what we're really trying to address, looking at the issue of access to land. Because we're saying, we know we had this land reform program, but it's not the majority who got their pieces of land. And we are looking at the women themselves. Women really needs their pieces of land, and we have young people who also need their pieces of land. So it's not a big problem to us, because these issues have been addressed, and here in Zimbabwe, mostly 20 to 25% of women got their pieces of land in their respective names, and I'm also amongst those who got their pieces of land in their respective names, not under the name
of the husband,
but not a husband, but my name, and the certificate is in my name. You see, although we're working together with my husband on the farm before he passed away in 2019, but he really knew that this is her piece of land, because he himself, we had another piece of land where we decided, okay, let's give this piece of land to our son, and we stay together and develop on this piece of land here in Shasha in Masringo. Because it was still virgin, and we really wanted to practice sustainable agriculture, which we are. Here, although in some countries, you find out the peasants, the small-scale farmers, are not really able to get enough land to till what they really want to produce. It's a big challenge, and men are always in control. You see? So we know that there are African countries who are still struggling to have access to land, but I think they are aware of the global peasant movement. They are aware of Via Campesina, because if I remember very well during the moment we were discussing about this UNDROP before it was adopted. The UNDROP. You see, many African governments, we were meeting with them in Geneva, in New York, many African governments. And during the voting, Africa voted as a bloc, and the majority of our governments voted for this UNDROP, which to me has that. I have that belief that they know the importance of this UNDROP, what is contained, how they should take it upon themselves, but also the implementation, it's only the challenge, because it's not all the African governments who have started the implementation of the UNDROP, although we are still working together, trying to see how we can push for the implementation of the UNDROP. You see, a lot has happened within the organizations in Africa and across Africa. I think it shows very well that we know our African governments are aware of the movements and what this big global movement is all about. Because there was no way they could accept that to sit on a round table in Rome, Geneva, New York, all those countries,
And can you take us through the days where it was established?
All right. So maybe in brief, our path to joining AFSA as an organization was driven by our shared commitment to food and seed sovereignty. And as a grassroots organization, Kirubeli, our organization, which is advocating for the rights of smallholder farmers, we saw AFSA as a very important platform which enables us to amplify our voice, as we were just saying, and collaborate with like-minded organizations across Africa. So as ZIMSOFF joined AFSA, it was to strengthen our advocacy efforts on key issues such as the farmers' rights, as I was talking about, farmers' rights to land and seeds, and also to promote agroecology practices. And this, we found it as the only solution to climate change. So through AFSA, I don't want to hide the fact that we have been able to engage in campaigns and dialogues that addresses systems which were not being addressed, especially the barriers to food sovereignty, while also ensuring the voices of smallholder farmers are heard at national, regional, and international levels. So our membership to AFSA has allowed us to contribute and benefit from collective action, especially on climate justice and the rights of women and youth in farming communities. So in brief, I think this is quite a lot if I want to mention our involvement in AFSA. You see?
One thing that I really want to talk to you about is the issues, the topics of food sovereignty and agroecology. Can you tell us why, the concept of food sovereignty is a bold future for Africa, very critical for African food systems transformation?
Maybe if we really want to talk much about the widespread adoption of agroecology among farmers, I think this is much about promoting sustainable farming practices. which also have helped the communities to increase maybe their resilience to climate change, while at the same time enhancing food security and nutrition. We know this has been lacking because with the industrial farming systems which have been practiced, we found out that the environment, the soils were no longer able to produce enough. So I think this is where we are strongly advocating for agroecology farming in Africa or across Africa.
Yeah.
I think one of the successful stories which I really don't want to leave behind is the lobbying the governments, especially to recognize, support agroecology. And as we speak right now here in Zimbabwe, it is now in the hands of the policymakers. Yes, and it is a very important tool for us when we talk of agroecology. It's a tool which is a testament to the power of grassroots movements, especially in driving the systematic change, you see. So I'm really proud myself, and especially with my organization, which has helped also to empower farmers to speak for themselves at national and all these international platforms. Even AFSA itself has given us that opportunity to hear the voice of the voiceless, the small-scale farmers, the indigenous people, the small fisher folks, talking with the decision-making people, especially in those spaces where we were not able. It's a very big accomplishment, which I really need it to be spelled out. This also helped us to ensure that our needs and priorities have been addressed. So these also accomplishments reflect the strength of collective action, as I stated earlier on, and the resilience of our farming communities. Yeah. It's quite a lot which we can talk about agroecology. And when we think of food sovereignty, there's no way I can accept someone just to come and tell me what I want to eat, how I should produce it, but I should be able to control and to decide what I want to produce and how I want to produce it. Not necessarily someone coming to say, okay, you produce maize. Is maize my staple food? No, but we have a diversity of food crops. We are talking of transformation of food systems. How can we transform to food systems if we just continue maybe focusing on one crop, one maize crop? Yet Africa has a diversity of food crops, which our ancestors have been producing. Now, because of the colonization which happened, we were just colonized to believe that maize is the only staple food. Yet we are not really embracing our own cultural foods, which our forefathers and mothers have been eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is much about food sovereignty, Kirubeli.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's for this sense that we launched the campaign My Food is African. There is
Yes.
a gradual disconnect between the young African population and the older generation, where the young generation gradually is really becoming more attracted to this fast food culture.
Yes.
Corporations coming to
Yes.
Africa and spoiling. So what would be your message to African young generations to embrace their own African traditional foods, and why should why should they focus on really upgrading or enhancing their own food system, African foods, instead of really becoming embracing the Western way of life in terms of food?
Yeah, maybe my message, which I would really want people to know much about when we look at Africa, they should know that Africa is a rich and diverse continent, blessed with abundance of natural resources, including fertile lands, water bodies. We have access to huge water bodies. And our climates are favorable to agriculture. Although we know we have this challenge of climate change and the systematic inequities persist, I know this persists, but also African agriculture holds immense potential. We have that potential, Kirubeli.
Yeah.
We have that potential to feed Africa, to deal away with this narrative where they're saying Africa is hungry. There are millions and millions of hungry people. That's their own narrative. But truly speaking, Africa can feed itself.
Yeah.
This is a very important message I really want to share with other people outside Africa. And even our young people should be aware that we have a potential with their involvement. Right now, we are aware of the debates which are happening, where they really want to introduce new farming technologies, IT, through IT, what. But no, we know what we really want, how we really want to produce. Yes, we know the role of our young people in IT, in these new technologies. They are there to assist, especially in identifying markets, all those things, you see, to link the farmers to the markets. They are able to do that. So we really want to tell the world that no, Africa can feed itself with its own diversity of food crops, which we have.
Yeah. So, what do you think is a challenge? Most African leaders or governments are increasingly becoming more, accepting probably of, GMOs, genetically engineered foods, and even some countries like in Kenya or Ethiopia, they are even advocating, that we cannot really feed Africa without the help of genetically modified foods in Africa. So, what would be your message to this kind of policy makers to show them what Africa has in terms of agricultural resources, biodiversity, the land, we can feed Africa using our own minds, our own soils,
Yes.
with
Yes.
agroecology. Is it possible to tell them or to convince them that Africa is able to do that without the need of GMOs in Africa?
It's possible, Kirubeli. It's possible when, as civil society organizations in Africa, can come up together, not to work on isolation. Because we know many African governments, they do prioritize conventional farming systems, which serves their interests of multinational corporations. They are not there for the welfare of the people, but they are there for their own benefit's sake, undermining agroecology initiatives and local food systems. But yet they are aware of where they are coming from, how they grew up. But because of their greediness, they are accepting these multinational corporations.
Yeah.
And it's one of their priorities, which is not what we really want. So we know as many agroecology movements across Africa, we really need to try not to work in isolation, but let's be members of AFSA. To form up a very bigger network of networks There's no we can say we have AFSA, West Africa, AFSA, South. No, 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 no. Let's have one AFSA. Let's come together and build a strong network which will represent us at all levels. It's a challenge, especially maybe to convince farmers to transit from conventional farming methods to agroecology. It can be very difficult due to misinformation, especially by media houses, which they believe that agroecology can't feed the world. You know, this is a bad narrative which these media houses sometimes talk, because they are not coming to the people who are practicing on the ground.
Yeah.
You see? And maybe my call to our government, to our African government, they should really try to work closely with the civil society organization, the small-scale farmers at large, especially maybe when they have their meetings, these decision-making processes. We should be part and parcel of this decision-making processes, because this is where some policies are being formulated. And if we are left out, then no one is going to address issues related to agroecology, you see?
One of the questions that I have for you is, from your experience, I want people, especially the young generations, to learn from your journey, from your experience, from your humble beginnings, staying with your mother, still being with her, close to her, and doing farming in your own area, being a voice of your local communities, then nationally, then becoming one of the most prominent and prolific speakers of agroecology, food sovereignty movements on behalf of peasants in the world. What can the young generation learn from you? How do they start advocating for their people? For the rights of farmers, for our rights of producing our food in a way that we want. How do you teach them to take over of their own destiny in terms of food sovereignty in Africa?
Yeah, most importantly, is I know very well, Kribel, that working with young people, it's a big challenge, because they want quick money, quick life, but we have tried, especially through La Via Campesina and many organizations, we have all managed to establish the youth articulations so that they are able to have their own space, giving them some advice on how they should address their issues, and also bringing their thoughts to the elders to see how so that we know how they want to take care of all those issues related to food production and marketing, all those things. Because I know they really want something which is quick. They think farming is not very important, but we also try to show them the way that food is important for anyone, and everyone, even the young and the old, they should be involved in food production, and money is on the ground. You cannot rely on working for someone where you think, okay, I have a white shirt and a tie and a jacket. No, 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 no. As young people, they should be aware that they should work for themselves, create jobs for themselves, because even in farming, you can create a job. You can create a job and earn quite a lot of money, which you really want, because there are markets waiting for the farmers' products there. But if the young people do not want to produce, how are they going to get enough resources? So they should really try to work hard, come together as young people and move forward, share their challenges, come up with the strategies. That's the only advice I can give to young people, because I know it's not all those who have gone to school, who have degrees, who are working. We know the situation in Africa.
Yeah.
In Africa, we have so many educated young people, but they are just roaming around. So if we don't build their capacity, also lobby them, advise them to get interested in farming, I think as our generation won't be doing good to these young people. So we are really trying ourselves, and I really want to urge all the young people, especially in Africa, to stand up and work together and come up with strategies on how to fight hunger in Africa, because they are the generations which we are looking towards to see a good, healthy world without any hunger or any challenges.
Yeah.
Kiruberi.
Yeah. It's true. One of my personal worries is most of the aid, organizations or donor communities, including governments, they're not inclined to support this kind of, local community movements for agroecology and food sovereignty in Africa. So can you share, some of the message for people to start really looking or asking the direct beneficiaries, the farmers, fisher folks, the local communities, in terms of understanding their challenge and uh, give us the solution that we want, not the solution that they want us to take, like GMOs.
Maybe a message I can send outside there from people outside Africa is for them to understand that Africa is not just a continent of challenges, but Africa is also one of solutions. Farmers across the continent, they are leading innovative efforts to protect their resources. Therefore, we are able to feed our communities as Africans, and we are also able to contribute to the global sustainability through practices like agroecology. So there's no way we can let them come up with a discourse that Africa is not able to feed its people. No.
I want to finish these questions by asking you how you want to be remembered by Africans, for Africans or by the global peasants movement. How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah,
Your legacy.
I just want people to remember me as a woman who is committed, who is dedicated, and also committed to the well-being of the lives of the smallholder farmers, the women, the young people. You see, because my work, even as I'm here at home right now, I'm working closely with the youth, with the women, huh? And trying to educate ecology. The centers of excellence where people are also coming to learn much about this. So I just want people to remember me of my commitment to the sustainability of our country, of our continent.
Thank you so much, Mama Liz. I honestly cannot wait to visit you one day on your farm. Uh, let's finish this conversation, but don't hang it up. I really want to talk to you for 1 minute.
Okay.